Welcome to Solon and week 2 of the high school football season. The Washington Demons last week raised a few eyebrows with a 19-10 win over 4A powerhouse Bettendorf. Solon made it to the title game last year and lost a close one to Williamsburg to open the 2020 campaign. Good one for you tonight from Spartan Stadium. It's Armed Forces Night. The Demons and the Spartans up next on MC22.
To Logan Wolf, captain, 7 play 75. To AJ Coon, Marcus Orr doing nice with Cale O'Neill on the very next possession.
Welcome to week 2 and Spartan Stadium. Got a good one for you tonight as the Solon Spartans host the Washington Demons. Good evening and welcome. Rob Brooks, pleased to be joined by Jerry Koala. And Jerry, you go back to last week, and certainly the surprise of any game throughout the state of Iowa had to be Washington's victory over 4A powerhouse Bettendorf.
Yeah, they certainly opened the eyes of a lot of people in Class 3A last week with that win over a top-notch team in Bettendorf. Now they got to turn around and beat a team at Solon that's dropping a class and yet returns a lot of experience, a program experience, if you will. So I see tonight's football game as a very hard-hitting, very well executing on the offensive side of the football game.
And for both of these teams, we're going to see outstanding players that do it on both sides of the football. Sean Willis, a good two-way player. We will call his name a lot tonight.
Well, at 6'5" and 230 pounds, he plays quarterback on the offensive side. He can run with it. He can throw the football very nicely, but he's just a nice complement to that offense. And on the defensive side, he's a headhunter down over there.
And no question, Solon, when they're going, they want to run the football and be dominant up front. And Jackson Ryan had over 100 yards last week against Williamsburg.
And he handles the ball in a lot of different ways. He returns kicks, he returns punts, he runs with the football when it's handed off to him, and he also catches passes out of the backfield. So he's one of a number of good skilled players for the Solon Spartan football team.
Yeah, good early season matchup. It'll be Washington and Solon. We're looking forward to it. Hope you are as well. We'll be back with the kickoff after this on MC22. High school football on Mediacom MC22 is brought to you by McGrath Family of Dealerships, 5 Seasons Tire, the Tom Riley Law Firm, Collins Community Credit Union, Heartland Hearing Center, and by Extreme, powered by Mediacom. Welcome back to Spartan Stadium, Solon, Iowa, as we get set for Washington and Solon, week 2 of the high school football season. The Solon Spartans have won the toss and elected to defer, so they will kick off to Washington. Remember the Demons, that big victory against Bettendorf last week. And here's the opening kickoff. Angles to the left side and looks like it goes out of bounds at about the 1-yard line. And that will bring out the penalty marker. And Solon will have to re-kick, Jerry, to get this game started.
We come back and probably re-kick it again. I can imagine the adrenaline flow from these athletes out here, Rob, right now is just very high. So they got to try to, temper that, bring it down, just settle into playing the game of football. It will happen eventually, through this first quarter. Out of bounds, and Wash elects it to take it on the 35.
So the Washington Demons, keys to the game.
Well, they got a young man by the name of Stout in that backfield to be able to carry that football. He's their big running back behind Tayshawn Willis, and then they'll have to slow down that Solon Spartan running game.
And as you mentioned, Jerry, 6'5". He can really view that field and throws it downfield and almost picked off. Bo Jansen right in the middle of the field just about had an interception, and what a way that would have been to start this game for Solon.
Absolutely. Good read there by Jansen from that free safety position. Step up in there in front of that pass.
about the keys for the Solon Spartans?
Well, you know, we talked to head coach Lucas Stan before the game, and they just didn't finish on some of the possessions. He said they outgained Williamsburg a week ago, so they got to finish that today, and then they got a weakened Willis in that quarterback spot.
And he'll take off, and he's going to be a tough guy to bring down at 6'5", and those types of quarterbacks that can take off like that always get a couple, 3 more yards after contact, and that's exactly what happened to move the chains there.
Picks up 11 yards, and he's 6'5" at 230 pounds. He can move pretty well, and he is a tough guy to bring down.
This time he will hand it off for the first time. Wyatt Stout, his first carry, maybe gets a yard.
So we talked about in this, to our keys to the game, Wyatt Stout carried the ball 17 times a week ago. And that win over Bettendorf, you know, we're talking about a Bettendorf team that's normally very, very good.
Washington offensive starters. It's a good group up front. And they'll use a lot of players. Here's a little flare pass to Mayer, Reese Mayer. He gets to about the 46-yard line.
Well, they set that up with a trips formation to the left, and Mayer is back as a flanker, if you will, with the 2 receivers up in front of him. They act as blocking backs. He gets the nice reception and enough for almost a first down.
And this is an experienced unit. Certainly more defensive starters return than on the offensive side for the Spartans.
A program that returns athletes year in and year out, even though the names change.
T-Pole and Shine, 2 very good linebackers. Stout again with his second carry to the 45. Marty get on the stop for the black shirts of the Solon Spartans.
Watch him come from the backside. We saw Greg Marty come from that backside. Zach Harp in there as well. I mean, they're an aggressive bunch. They don't have to have the big names on the back of those jerseys. They just know how to play the game of football.
Spread attack for Washington. Those offenses, it looks to the sideline. And now we've got some motion. It looked like Stout started to move forward in the backfield.
Just wiggled a little bit there on the near side. Sure will hurt this possession. A lot of possessions to go, but in a game like this between really 2 pretty good football teams, every possession is important because you may not get very many.
So that really hurts the Demons, and they will have to kick it away after some really good plays to start the ball game. And it's going to take a huge Spartan bounce, and the ball is dead, just shy of midfield.
Well, certainly that's a punt that he's going to want to have back as it.
Zach Stout, the punter, and that's going to be a total of 2 yards.
So it's evident that that ball went right up into the air and just hit as it was rolling, and it rolled backwards towards the Washington end zone.
There you see the offensive starters for Solon. Timmons in there at quarterback. He's going to throw on first down. A safe pass that works to Colton Hoffman. He caught a pass for 23 yards last week. And a 17-14 loss to Williamsburg.
That's a nice rollout by Blake Timmons on the right side, and all Hoffman does is just kind of downfield about 2 or 3 yards, does a little curl action route, and nice delivery, had some running room.
Bo Jansen hobbles toward the sideline for the Spartans, and he'll have to be helped to the bench. So 1st and 10. Hand off to Jackson Ryan. And he found some running room last week, 107 yards on 10 carries against Williamsburg. Willis on the stop.
As you see off the right side, there's the handoff, a read option direct handoff to him. Just trying to create some yardage up the middle. Just trying to find that offensive line. They're trying to feel each other out.
get something established.
Pickup of 4 by Ryan. Good field position for Solon. Trying to play mistake-free tonight as Ryan wiggles free and gets close to the 30-yard line. And as Lucas Stanton, the first-year head coach for Solon, told us before the game, Jerry, when Solon is going well, they want to do the job up front.
This is an interesting play. It starts going to the right, and then it just becomes a trap play to the left. So we try to influence that white jersey defense to go to the left, and it sets up the blocks a little bit easier. Right guard, right tackle pulls to the left, and it picks up enough almost for a first down.
Wyatt Stout on the stop for the Demons. And right up the middle again, Jackson Ryan. This is a team that wants to run the football. That will be their identity going forward, and that's going to be good enough for a first down for the Solon Spartans.
They had a 3rd and 1 and picked up 9 to get a first down. So certainly they worked very hard this week on the mistakes they made a week ago that hurt them in the loss to Williamsburg.
Wyatt Stout, the middle linebacker, again with the stop. Stout, a very good football player at 6 foot 173. Solon has some momentum. Exactly what they're looking for week 2, and not much for Ryan as he tries the left side. Nice pursuit. Willis Ziglowski, the sophomore.
Come up in that right cornerback position. They're trying to run, either off tackle or to the outside. So they got those bash blockers leading the way for Jackson Ryan. And this time Washington does a nice job to make it a 1-yard loss.
Good hit in there again by Wyatt Stout. Boy, he's been in just about every play here in the first quarter. Spartans working out of the shotgun. Here's Ryan. Not much there as Thomas Baez. It's a good job getting off the block and making the play.
The play just needs to speed up here a little bit. It was a bad snap down at the feet of Timmons, and that allowed Baez really to fight off the block. It was just a simple brush block, and then his left guard would move to his right to try to find somebody downfield. And because the ball was so low, it slowed down the play.
Big 3rd down here. Ball batted up in the air by the 6'5" Willis, who had a big-time pick 6 in the 4th quarter last week against Bettendorf.
Well, that's a lot of young man there to try to throw the ball over. As we take a look at Tayshawn Willis, and you see that on the young man, he's without a half of a left arm. See, nice
the bottom
leap.
part of his left arm.
Yeah, he before he was born, they had diagnosed him. The umbilical cord got caught around his body, didn't allow it to develop, and they did not know it until after he was born and he was without the lower part of his left arm.
Inspirational story for sure. And not much there for Ryan. Going to be stopped short. Last 2 plays, Washington defensively really done a terrific job up front.
Well, they have. This is 4th down and 10. They're going to try to some kind of a little bit of delay. I don't know. Washington didn't buy it at all. They see where the handoff came from, and they went to it.
Reese Mayer, he was in the backfield about a half a count. But Solon did a good job to move the football.
Started on their 48 after the 2-yard punt, made it to the 26 of Washington. Washington defense stiffened up quite a bit.
Willis to throw. Has plenty of time. Lofts this downfield, and it is caught. Spencer Sotelo goes up in double coverage and comes down with the football.
Watch this as Willis is back, throws a nice ball over the top, lofts it into the hands of Sotelo.
And a hurry-up play after a 34-yard pass play. Run the football with Wyatt Stout.
And doing the right thing to get right up to the line of scrimmage and let's run another play before that defense can get set. Try to recover from that long pass that they just gave up.
Don't see this too much in high school football. You do in college with the spread attack. Everybody gets lined up and then look over to the sideline to get the play. Willis, now he'll have to take off. As you can see, it's just tough to bring down in traffic and gets out of bounds very close to the first down marker. There is a penalty flag on the play.
I think the flag is coming after he was pushed out of bounds, maybe an exterior extracurricular impact applied by Solon.
And that'll go against the home team.
So he ran for 6, and they're going to tack on another 15. So you can see the size of this lad, and when he tucks it to run, he knows how to become a running back too. Bumped out of bounds, and right there, because he was so far out of bounds, the play really had been ruled dead, the late hit.
6'5", 235. Deepest penetration for Washington tonight.
And that's how we got 1st and 10 at the 14.
Interesting story how ended up playing Bettendorf last week that will tell you.
Willis down to the 5.
And Willis again.
Penalty on the play.
Boy, moves that pile forward, but another marker. The original schedule had Washington taking on the Marion Indians. And this will go against the Spartans again. And that's one thing that Solon wanted to clean up from a week ago was penalties. So Washington's supposed to play the Marion Indians week 1. Marion didn't play a week 1 game because of the storm. Marion won't play a home football game this year. So Washington was looking for an opponent. All of a sudden made a few calls and played Bettendorf.
Or just happened to find out that Bettendorf was available, and they thought, well, why not?
One of the few teams available, yeah, just find any game. Nothing for Stout.
Wyatt Stout on the 1st and goal from the 2.
Good job by T-Pole to get in there.
Yeah, he knifes right through the middle. You see him get right to the legs of Wyatt Stout. Goes in for a 1-yard loss.
Lost the 1 on that last play. 2nd and goal.
So that'll bring up 2nd and goal. 2 penalties have been costly for Solon on this drive. Willis, little option to Stout into the end zone for a Washington Demons touchdown.
Did a nice job to block that, Rob, as well as Solon could not penetrate. They couldn't come up and take their assignment. The dive back, nobody had quarterback until the very end, and even then it was pitched by Tayshawn Willis. You'll see it. There's no black jersey penetration whatsoever till right there, and then you can see that Wyatt Stout had the running room. That perfect option execution.
Extra point. Zach Stout.
Up the point after Zachary Stout.
And he puts it right through. So after Solon couldn't convert on a 4th down and a big pass play. They covered 34 yards, and Washington able to strike first. Got down early against Bettendorf last week. They score the first touchdown here in week number 2. Nice drive by Washington. They were down 10-6 at the half against Bettendorf last week. Had 3 interceptions in that ballgame. Of course, Willis took one to the house in the 4th quarter. The Demons only had 99 yards of offense last week. So a really good sign on that drive, Jerry, as they used a big pass play, but got it done on the ground.
It's interesting that they found out that they can play with a 4A team like a perennial championship team in Bettendorf. But the turnovers in that second half really were the difference.
Jackson Ryan.
Jackson Ryan.
Zone 7, out to the 22-yard line.
Out to the 22, so Solon. Their second possession here in the first quarter.
16. Jackson Ryan.
Well, they ran 8 plays on their first possession, Rob. It started at Washington's 48-yard line, ended on their 26 on downs on a 4th down and 10-yard play. So they know that they can move the football on this team, and they've got good diversity among the athletes they have in that backfield.
The keeper. And nowhere to go for Timmons. Blake Timmons, a sophomore quarterback.
On the keeper.
Of course, lost a pretty good one a season ago.
3-year starter, Cam Miller. I mean, he progressed year in and year out. I think he threw for almost 9,000 yards in his career at Solon.
And now at North Dakota State.
Led him to the state championship game a year ago. Playoffs every year. Yeah, that was a good group, I suppose, if you were going to go out as a head coach that Kevin Miller did, was to follow that group, because he'll be following his son at some point when college football begins to play.
18 years, Kevin Miller, head coach at Solon. What a terrific career. Up the middle, Jackson Ryan. He's been the workhorse here in the first quarter. He's had a couple of good runs, but hasn't been able to break one, but he's got the ability to do so.
They're using him to the right and to the left. They're pulling guards from the right and left side. They're just going back and forth on the left and right side, and they're trying to find that weakness in that Washington defense. Got to break a big one.
Laws, Stewart, both in there defensively for the visitors. Timmons. And he is tossed to the turf. Boy, good quick move in there by Brian Martin.
Crashed down in that defensive end position to get on to Timmons. Timmons tried to scoot behind him. Little run option fake right there. Almost probably could have given it to Jackson Ryan, but Martin does a nice job to fight off that block and get to Timmons. Almost tackled him forward enough for a first down, but it is just short.
3rd down and 1. Ball remains near the 33.
Big play here. Direct snap to Ryan. And he pushes forward. That's going to be good enough for a first down, as he was hit behind the line of scrimmage, but then able to move the pile forward. Stewart finally got him to the ground, along with Laws.
Zane Laws but he'll swing him forward. Watch him as he comes forward. Runs right into Laws, and all Laws does is roll him forward for the first down.
Now on the move is the Solon Spartans. Timmons
42-yard line.
able to keep it and move forward.
He's quick and shifty, Rob. He's able to watch the fake that he makes right here, and the opening on that left side of that offensive line. He's able to keep his feet, use his hand to keep him upright and get downfield, pick up about 7.
He's got some shifty moves.
Pretty quick. Got some good footwork. It's like he likes to play this game, and that's really kind of where it happens in this offense. You got to have a quarterback who's very athletic and run and pass.
Bailey makes the tackle. Outstanding basketball player. One of the leaders of The Washington basketball team plays high-level AAU basketball as well, and just a junior.
Perhaps a yard.
It'll be a yard for Timmons, who rushed for
For the Demons.
several yards last week, also threw for 60,
Third down, and we'll call it
but only
two.
threw 8 times.
You get that running game going, and of course Lucas Stana had talked to us before the game saying how the running game had kind of controlled that football game against Williamsburg a week ago. Yeah, they're going to keep the ball on the ground. That's just vintage Solon Spartan football.
And Willis in there with a big hit as well. There's a direct snap to Jackson Ryan.
Direct snap to Jackson Ryan.
Not much there as Baez again makes a tackle. And this has been an interesting game to watch here in the first quarter up front.
Just using that running game, taking their time. They realize it's a 4-quarter game, so they can't make everything in 1 or 3 plays on a possession. Just keep moving that ball downfield and moving the chains. You said, there wasn't a lot there, enough for a first down though, and at least a fresh set of downs.
And that's the key. Keep those chains moving. Solon has done it on the ground, and now in the air, it is complete to Colton Hoffman, and he makes a big play out of it and may take it all the way. Touchdown, Solon. 55 yards. How about that for a big play?
And a play action pass off to the right side, and Hoffman just found himself wide open in that right flat, and I think he surprised the Washington defensive backs with his speed, because boy, he really got down that sideline in a hurry and was unable to be caught.
Colton Hoffman, who is already committed to Division II powerhouse Minnesota State.
Watch, it's just a play action. Timmons does a nice job to get himself out to the right side. Hoffman right there. Nice block.
Got a really nice block.
And that speed that he showed running down that right sideline.
Extra point is right through, and we're tied up at the end of the first quarter. Well, 2 teams that like to do it on the ground, Jerry, but 2 big pass plays, 1 on each side. End of 1, tied at 7. Eight plays, 78 yards, 7 running plays, Jerry, and just 1 pass play. But boy, that's the one that counted, 55 yards and 6.
It was just a 3-yard pass play that Colton Hoffman turned into a 55-yard scoring.
That's a coach's dream pass play.
Well, yeah, it's a safe pass. All right, let's just take what we can get. If it turns into a big play, so be it. And that's exactly what happened.
Will Noonan will kick off. Take it inside the 10-yard line by Jacob Miller. And he is swarmed under by black jerseys. Leading the way is Hayden Taylor.
Good coverage by that kickoff team. It gives that team some inspiration. You score like that, you tie the score. Those guys that don't get to play very often and mostly on special teams, it really turns them on. Get downfield, make that tackle.
23-yard line, that's a 16-yard return for Jacob Miller. First and 10 Demons at their own
Willis
23.
In the shotgun. 4 wide in the spread attack for James Harris. and the Washington Demons, and run out of the formation. Not much there for Wyatt Stout.
Again, that backside defensive end, able to get to him quickly. Watch him, he'll come from left to right. See him coming right down the line of scrimmage. You know, there's a hole there. You can see where Wyatt was trying to run through, but it closed. It didn't close at all. He got caught from behind.
Gage Marty, 5'11" junior. Second down and 10. Willis down the sideline to a wide open Wyatt Stout to the 40.
That's good defensive backfield coverage to bring him down. Jake Quillen did a nice job just to square up and keep him from running for a score. Otherwise, look how wide open Wyatt Stout is down that right sideline.
37 yards on that play, and Stout gets it right back and into the end zone. Back-to-back Stout, and just like that, Demons strike for the second time.
Interesting that they found twice now weaknesses, openings in that defensive backfield of the Washington Demons. Obviously, it's a play action. He just goes right up the middle, doesn't get picked up by a linebacker. You know, just the linebacker got caught, but no fill around him. Stout runs for a touchdown.
Zach Stout. Will attempt the extra point. Plenty of leg, and it is right through. And Washington, the Demons, go up 14-7.
Well, you can see how much progress these teams have made in the second week. You know, how much can Washington make after beating a perennial powerhouse like a Bettendorf? Well, you see right here. They didn't slow down. I asked James Harris, my question to him about that win was, has this team gotten over their win over Bettendorf last weekend? He stopped him for a moment. He's like, well, I think so. He said, we've had a really good week of practice. So, you know, they realize that there's 7 games, their 7-game season is down to 6 games left in the regular season, but to beat a Bettendorf team like that, that'll be talked about for a long time. That's kind of like Appalachian State beating Michigan whenever that was back in 07 or 08 it was. No one ever would have expected that.
And really, Washington, most polls you saw preseason were not in the top 10 in Class 3A. Now you've seen them as high as number 4. That's been one of the goals for James Harris, to have non-district games find more competitive games. Well, he certainly found one last week, and certainly has to be happy with playing Solon here tonight.
And that he's a very, very good realist. He understands it is just one game, but it's a game that they prepared for and won that game. Now it's time to prepare for the next game, but they figured out how well they can play against any football team with that win. But again, James Harris is a great realist. Got to know him when he was playing football at Co 15 years ago.
I knew he had a pretty good football team coming in. Jackson Ryan trying to make a play on special teams, and he does. Out to close to midfield before he's driven out of bounds by the kicker, Zach Stout.
They let that opening develop, and just some poor tackling out there by Washington. 3 or 4 athletes got hands on it, but they just couldn't bring him down.
It's one thing too, Jerry, when you talk to coaches, especially early in the season, they always bring up special teams. We need to do more on special teams. We need to be more solid in that phase of the game.
It helps. You never know when you're going to break a big one, or it's just going to help you gain good field position. But you can never fumble it. You got to throw good blocks. Everybody has to know what they're doing. It makes a difference.
Timmons, a safety pass to Ben Cusick, the tight end. And that's a good, safe pass play that's worked very well here in the first half.
Plays to the strengths of Blake Timmons. You know, he's able to run the football inside and out, but when you get him rolled out, he has that run-pass option, and he had his big tight end, Cusick, open right away. Washington not able to keep Timmons inside, and once you get outside, the quarterbacks can be very dangerous. They just start picking up their receivers.
Stout makes the tackle. Pickup of 7. Timmons will keep it himself as he pulls forward to the 41, very close to first down yardage.
I wonder if that wasn't just a quarterback keeper option. In other words, it looked to me like he was going to try to go to the left side, but he had the option if he saw something up the middle. Just a run option. What he saw was maybe enough for a yard to a yard and a half, and that's about it. Tayshawn Willis right there. Put a shoulder pad into him.
Yeah, Stewart there as well. Going to be a little bit short, bring up third down. And movement by Washington.
Yeah, one of those non-rhythmic cadences we've talked about in the past. Let's see how disciplined they are. Go up there and give a couple of quick snap counts. Because, you know, defenders are here, much like the offense, they're hearing the quarterback and they're moving on sound versus watching the football, not worried about what that quarterback's cadence is, especially when you're on the defensive side. And that time he fooled them, got him drawn offside, picked up the 5-yard walk-off for the offside.
Ball at the 37. It's the motion man that has it. That is Carson Miller.
Carson Miller is carried for the Spartans. Picks up a couple to the 35. Second down and 8 after the 2-yard run.
Watch Brock Reimers come up here from the outside. That's what he has to. He get, a hard corner like that has got to come up and stop the run.
Jacob Miller. The good tackle is a good tackling secondary for Washington. Timmons, the keeper, squirts through and almost breaks it all the way. It gets inside the 25. Boy, you thought he was down back at the 30.
As did the Washington defenders until he kept driving forward and peeled himself away from those tackles. Once for a first down, you just keep running hard until they bring you to the ground and that whistle blows. You see him following the block of the running back.
Just kept
Carson Miller.
His legs going. Miller was there. Also Wyatt Stout.
She knew right where to go. They needed 11 and got 12.
And on the move again is Carson Miller. This time nowhere to go. And that's Jacob Miller coming up to fill that hole against the run again.
Again, that's his entire responsibility out on that right cornerback. He'll see it coming at him, he'll see it coming, and he'll just get right forward. Does a nice job to judge him. Didn't want him to get outside. And he went around the blocker.
So that'll be a loss of 4 and bring up 2nd and 14. Solon trying to answer the second touchdown of the night by Washington. Timmons the keeper. That's been an effective play. It'll work for maybe 3.
Well, defense has to honor that, what would be a handoff on that read option play. And Timmons does a nice job to ride Lucas Teeple. Watch him ride him, and then he just pulls it out as he has a little bit of running room to get up the middle.
Stewart makes another stop along with Mayer.
Take back 5 of the 3 that they lost in the previous play. Willis, Wyatt, Stout in there, but not before he gets downfield 5 yards.
That brings up a more manageable 3rd down. And Solon probably in 4-down territory if they don't get it here. Timmons in the air. Gets it to Hoffman. He caught the touchdown pass, good for 55 yards. That's his 2nd reception of the night, and good enough for a 1st down.
And you really like the decisions being made by Blake Timmons out there at quarterback. He's not trying to force anything deep. He understands the situation. 3rd down and 8. Let's just get enough yardage for a 1st down. And all Colton Hoffman does is run a 7-yard square in, and then once he sees Timmons rolling to the right, he goes to the right sideline. He's wide open for an easy pass and a good pickup down at the 9. Gain of 13 yards.
So Tello and Miller push Hoffman out of bounds. Minnesota State, where Hoffman is heading up in Mankato. An excellent football, always challenging for the Division II National Championship. Timeout.
Timeout, Spartans.
Taken by Solon.
Well, we got a first and goal from the 9. Maybe they weren't excited about the formation or even the play call. You know, Rob, sometimes you say, hey, let's just bring it down.
We're in the second quarter, 14-7 in favor of the Demons. We'll be back. Rob Brooks and Jerry Quallam back at Spartan Stadium. One of our favorite venues to come to, Jerry, during the fall.
Beautiful facility. Put us up high enough we can see the whole field, the yard stripes, numbers, the players' numbers, and some good football.
Very good football.
And
the stadium has hosted several district track meets as well. You gotta have a pretty good facility to do that. So after the timeout, a quick pass play this time. Not much, as Carson Miller is drilled. Did a good job to hang on to the football.
Now, it looked like that play really was kind of a dumb play, if you will. I think what they're setting up is they're trying to see what Washington's doing on this. Look, the whole white jerseys flow to the left. I would look for a reverse play. You know, I would have lined up into that short side of the field and done the same thing and have all the influence to the right and come back with a reverse.
Really good hit by Bailey. That's his second tackle here in the first half. Into the end zone, incomplete. Miller there defensively to break it up as Braden Rickardson, 6'2" wide receiver, the intended receiver.
Well, that was a nice pass by Tim as he threw it underneath the defensive back. You see this, he just drills that flat slant pass. Wow.
Jacob Miller just did a good job to play the football. Yeah, Timmons for a sophomore, very impressive. He's an outstanding baseball player too. He was a starter on varsity as an 8th and 9th grader.
Yeah, so that'll help a lot when you gain your composure.
And not easy to do with the program Solon has. Timmons rolls to his left, ball tipped in the air and falls incomplete. But a flag thrown back near the 15-yard line.
We're going to have a holding penalty on that interior. It's on the running back T-pole. When he goes up to the line of scrimmage and is blocking a blitzing linebacker or somebody trying to come across the line of scrimmage, and he gets his arm wrapped around him. And it wasn't like he tried to tackle him or anything. I think he couldn't get his arm back out. And the referee right there watching the whole play.
And Washington will decline the penalty and force a field goal attempt by Solon.
Spartan field goal attempt.
And the kick is in the air by Brent Lumpkin. And he knocks it right through. 25-yard field goal. And Solon gets 3 on the board and now trails only by 4.
So you got something out of that possession. 10 plays, and they went 41 yards to get this field goal.
Important to get points after a really nice drive. Armed Forces Night. You can see that Solon decals, red, white, and blue. Solon honoring local veterans throughout the ball game.
Really doing a nice job of recognizing what those people have done for our country and their service for decades. centuries.
And you can see the special shirts that the Solon coaching staff is wearing. That's a good look at Lucas Stanton. First-year head coach. Was at Anamosa for 3 seasons. An 8-19 record as he rebuilt that program. Also had stops at North Cedar and Dubuque Wahlert, a Mount Vernon alum. So we always know about the Mount Vernon and Solon rivalry, but he's been good buddies with a lot of people from Solon. Played slow pitch softball with many of them, so wasn't that tough of a transition being a Mount Vernon Mustang.
Well, when you after high school, you kind of let that competitive edge go between the two very proud towns. Some don't, really. I've known a lot of people that have gotten, you can still have, I guess, less allegiance. Yeah, I mean, you'll respect it. I guess you won't hang around with it. Mike Hufford lives outside of Solon, and he's a Mount Vernon guy.
Well, we've done plenty of Mount Vernon Solon games over the year.
Always fun to do the Mount Vernon Solon rivalry game, the Highway 1 competition between the two. Back when Jim Bellamy was coaching. I was going to mention Solon has had 2 football coaches in 48 years. Now they're on their 3rd. I mean, that's the consistency and the continuity of coaches, long-term coaches, is what's really helpful in building programs.
And many of the assistants stayed on with Coach Stanton, which really helps as well. Aaron Campman being one of them, of course, played at Iowa and then had a terrific career with the Green Bay Packers, and has a son who plays on the Solon football team as well.
And Solon's had some other former Iowa athletes, I think baseball players over the years. Of course, we got Morris. We talked to Greg Morris here before the game, and his son.
His son could play a little bit, huh?
Yes, he could. Both in high school, what was he part of? 3 for sure. 3 state championship teams back in the late 2000s.
Player of the year, James Morris. Went on to have a terrific career as a linebacker at Iowa. Stout with the carry.
All right, let's go. Come on, let's go.
People a little bit slow to get up.
Just a read option handoff. He tripped on. That's what it was. He got his leg caught up into him. That would hurt.
Tough kid, though. Willis. There's plenty of time, but nobody open, but then breaks free. Gets into Solon territory and many more yards. Still on his feet. How about that run down to the 5-yard line? A touchdown saving tackle by Lucas Teepole.
Something you just can't bump him to knock him down. He just kept right on running right down the right sideline.
57 yards. Impressive. Well, we told you how tough he is to bring down.
You got to wrap him. When you get a shoulder pad into him, you got to put your arms around him and squeeze to bring him down.
And the Spartans want to take time out, regroup, as the Demons have 1st and goal.
Watch this. They had him in the backfield. They had him sacked. He stepped up into the pocket, got hit from that backside on the defensive end. He just swung him around. That was Lucas Campman. And downfield goes Tayshawn Willis now, because the defensive backs and linebackers are covering an area or a player. They're not really looking to have to tackle someone, and all of a sudden they realize now you got to turn into a tackler, get an angle on him.
And just would not go out of bounds.
Campman gets by Campman. Now all of a sudden he's on the move. Good little fake there.
Got a good block.
And again, right on the sideline, they just bumped him and they just couldn't bring him down. Kept his feet. He's a big buffalo out there, isn't he, Rob?
Terrific size at 6'5", and also outstanding speed.
He's a terrific basketball player, too. He actually led the team in scoring last year. We talked about
Bailey.
Mason Bailey, yes.
Yeah, Demons will have a terrific basketball team again this winter, I'm sure. Had a winning record last year. As Willis will dive forward for a few. Hoffman with a stop. Had 4 tackles last week against Williamsburg. Williamsburg won that game 17-14.
Here comes Washington right back down the field, Rob. They just, Solon had controlled, a good portion of this second quarter with a good drive. It ends up in a field goal, and here's Washington knocking on the door again.
Willis, the keeper, into the end zone for a touchdown. The 3rd touchdown of the first half by Washington. And now the Demons have scored more points here in the first half than they did the entire game last week. And that included a defensive score.
It just tells you how difficult that game was a week ago. Powerhouse defenses. He did a nice job to read the inside. Nothing there. Saw the outside was available to him. Had enough speed, didn't have that far to go. Picks up the touchdown.
Zach Stout will line up for his 3rd extra point. Boy, big plays have led to scores on both sides. Perfect. And Washington, number 4 in Class 3A, build that lead 21-10.
He just sets up, some outstanding activity for the second half, and yet even with 4 minutes and 40 seconds here, leaves a lot for the Solon Spartans to be able to come up with. Look at this, got some nice block in there, gets to the outside, no outside support for Solon, and he runs into the end zone untouched. Nice
pretty good weapon
right
too, when you can take off and run, but also have the ability to sit back in that pocket and throw the football.
Look at James Harris right there. Very charismatic, one of those charismatic coaches. He was very charismatic as a player at Coe College. I interviewed him a few times, before some of our football games that we broadcast of Coe games on the radio, and he never wanted to be interviewed. He was very humble. But I'd get him in there, and I'd let him start talking. And then all of a sudden he'd start to talk and enjoy what he was doing. But back when Eric Rayburn was the head coach at Coe, he took them to their first playoff game in a couple of decades, and James was on that team. Tough kid right out of Washington.
James Harris played at Coe, and Lucas Stanton on the other side played at Cornell. Yeah, it might be Division III football, but they still play a mean game down there. No doubt about it.
All means the same thing.
Ryan dives forward to the 32.
Well, I think it's important for Solon to gain some momentum here. They have shown that they can move the ball and score. I think for their sake, to go in at halftime trailing only 21-17, if that's how it ends up, would certainly help build that momentum.
Ackerman made the stop on special teams for Washington. 1st and 10 for Solon. Timmons goes deep, and it is caught at the 40. And picking up 7 more yards as Carson Miller hauls it in.
Well, there's 2 receivers that are running right next to each other. I don't know how he was able to come up with that reception, but he does. As Timmons delivers yet another nice ball, rolls out to his right. You'll see the 2 receivers.
Boy, a perfect pass, too.
Looked to me like Miller was to run an out pattern, and it kind of turned into a flag. That put him into the same area as another receiver. Those are just dangerous passes.
Zigolowski finally makes the stop, but not until 39 yards are picked up. 1st and 10 for the Spartans. Timmons right up the middle, boy, and he is met in a hurry by Willis.
Well, the running back didn't come over for the read option fake. But Timmons does the right thing just to follow the play, because the offensive line and whoever else in that backfield is making their blocks, are continuing to make their blocks. They don't see the mix up in the backfield. Watch this, you'll see Timmons reach out there to try to get the fake, and it was not there.
So give Timmons 2. And he'll hand it off to Jackson Ryan, and a big hole. Ryan sniffs the end zone, gets in for 6. How about that answer by Solon?
Boy, he does a nice job to run through those seams that are open and get that burst of speed to get down that left sideline, and he turns it on for the score.
33 yards.
Well, you talked about big plays.
But there is a flag. Coming back.
Yeah, it had to be too perfect without something wrong going on in that inside interior, isn't it? I'm not quite sure where the penalty was. And it could have been on the outside. Maybe a receiver was out, downfield blocking, and he held on to a defensive back.
So that'll bring the football back to the 24.
Where it's still first down and 10. So obviously it was on the outside. It had to have been a receiver downfield.
At the Demon 24, after the holding penalty against the Spartans.
So you got to credit Jackson with a 19-yard run. And then the holding penalty.
Solon right back at it. Timmons will keep it up the middle and get a few yards, bounces off Willis, and maybe picks up one more, and that's not easy to do.
I'll tell you, Timmons is a tough competitor out there, isn't
Yes,
he, Rob?
is.
Taking on all that contact, especially from the 230-pound linebacker, Tayshawn Willis. Just a read option play. Timmons keeps it, does a nice job. He can't hand it off all the time, because sometimes you're going to have chances to run the football.
Wyatt Stout in there for Washington as well. Timmons has shown us that he can throw it, and incomplete. Colton Hoffman had a shot.
It's interesting how you can't control your body enough. Hoffman gets into the end zone, kind of running backwards. The ball bounced off his hands and shoulder pads a little bit, and then he starts falling down, and you can't control yourself, and he's just trying to reach up and grasp at that football, just can't haul it in. See Timmons rolling to his right, does a nice job to deliver it immediately, put it up in the air, and let Hoffman run to it. See this? He's bouncing, I'm going down to the knees.
1, 2, 3, and just couldn't haul it in.
How many times have you ever been in that situation, Rob? Never?
Too many.
Oh, okay.
Whistles blow, the play dead.
Timeout, Solon.
And Solon will use their second timeout.
Must have been in the alignment miscue that got Lucas Stanton to call that timeout. You can see he was down there, was pounding his hand against his play sheet there. And he knows the camera's on him right now, so he's trying to play it really cool.
Well, that's the other thing too, and we've talked to many coaches that summer with the restrictions, couldn't have your normal summer workouts, and yeah, it's the same for everybody. But you have to remember here, Lucas Stanton is a first-year head coach. That's where I think it really does make a difference. You want to, in the summer, build that trust between head coach and players, coaching staff amongst themselves, also the full coaching staff and players, though many are familiar. And that's where I think that does make a difference. When you don't have a regular camp, don't have regular June and July workouts.
Yeah,
Not to make excuses, but with a first-year head coach, I think it's different than somebody that's been there for 5 or 6 years.
Okay, it said that he did a lot of Zoom call meetings with the seniors especially and the other players until they could get back together.
Ryan, pretty well blocked up the middle. Inside the 15. Looks like it'll just be shy of the first down marker.
I'm going to have to go for it here. There's no reason not to. They just picked up 6 yards, you know, on a read option play to the left side. Watch it, just folding blocks down. Following that running back right up the middle. You know, maybe the timeout certainly was also a little bit of motivating that offense to take it in. We got plenty of time, got the right plays, got the right players.
Good block in there too by Zach Harp. 6'1", 285-pound senior. Player down at the 20.
And it's so key for all these players. 11-man assignments is what it is, and everybody needs to do their job. And, you know, not every athlete looks the same, runs the same, blocks the same, but if you know how to do your position and you know what you're doing on every play, you can be successful. You know, Kevin Miller did it for 16 years. Ed Hansen before him did it for, well, let's see, 48 minus 16 is 32. So Ed Hansen had some excellent football teams all through those decades, but they just do things the right way.
Caden Knipper, 6'3", 215-pound junior. There's the player down, able to walk to the sideline.
When play resumes, it'll be 4th down and 1 for the Spartans. Ball at the 15 of the Demons.
Big 4th down here. Movement. Washington says it's against Solon. And they're correct.
That's unfortunate. I know they did the indication of look to the sideline first with about 18 seconds left on the play clock. And then I just think Jackson Ryan took a little bit too long to get that ball snapped, to get that cadence going. And had those lead blockers moving a little bit quickly.
He was the guy that was going to take the direct snap. Timmons under pressure, and he is brought down at the 24, short of first down yardage. Nice pursuit by the Demons, led by Thomas Baez.
I think Washington knew the way that Solon had lined up that they were going to roll to the right. That's what they'd been successful on before, so they kept Timmons from getting to the outside, and they covered those receivers downfield. Watch him step up from the outside especially. He can't get outside. They force him back in, and there's Baez right there to bring him down because he tucks it like he's going to run with it. He can't get it back up to pass. Nice defense by the Washington Demons on that play specifically.
And a tackle with authority. Now Washington, all 3 timeouts, 1:13 left. And sacked is Willis.
Trayshawn Willis is sacked in his own backfield.
Talk about pressure. They had everybody coming for.
That's the best penetration that Solon has had. Zach Harp had a terrific block. That last offensive series does the job against Willis.
Yeah, Harp in there as well as T-Pole. They were coming after him. They weren't going to give him any chance to see downfield.
That's a loss of 9. Willis. And he goes down inside the 5. Is that T-Pole in there again?
Yes, it is.
Lucas T-Pole with the sack inside the 5.
Well, they seem to be dividing that offensive line, and so the defenders are taking outside releases, and that just leaves that hole wide open. Watch this. Here comes T-Pole. Nobody picks him up. They double team that nose tackle. He's quick enough to get to the legs of Tayshawn Willis, and that he can't deliver a pass.
And they'll let the clock run out, will the Demons, and that'll do it for the first half of action. Washington 21, Solon 10. Halftime show coming up on MC22. Welcome back to Spartan Stadium, Solon, Iowa, as the Spartans trail Washington at the half, 21-10. Rob Brooks and Jerry Koala. Jerry, time to take a look at some of the first half highlights. Some big plays in the first two quarters.
Some excitement for both of these teams as Washington starts out there. There's a 3-yard touchdown run by Wyatt Stout, but Solon would come right back. Here's Blake Timmons on a play-action pass. He throws it to the flat area to Colton Hoffman. All of a sudden, he's down the sideline and into the end zone for the long run touchdown for the Solon Spartans. That covered 55 yards. That tied the score at 7. As we take a look at the fans right there on Armed Forces Night, dressed up in their patriotic apparel. Here's a pass down the right sideline to Wyatt Stout from Tayshawn Willis, and Stout will cover 39 yards. And then on the very next play, right up the middle, he gets the handoff and he runs 45 yards for the score for the Washington Demons to come right back, and they take the lead at 14-7. Here on the kickoff is a nice kickoff return by Jackson Ryan. He takes it from his own 2. He lets the blocking get set up, avoids a couple of tackles, and he puts Solon in excellent field position for this possession after the 47-yard kickoff return. That ends up in this field goal of 25 yards, making the score 21-10 at that point. Washington coming right back, though. Here is Tayshawn Willis. Thought they had him in a sack, did Campman, but no. Willis down the sideline, bumping off of would-be tacklers, and finally being dragged to the ground by T-Pole, but inside the 10-yard line. And then after another play, it's Tayshawn Willis on a 3-yard scamper into the end zone, and Washington would take the lead 21-10, and that's where we stand at this time. But some excellent plays by both of these teams in that first half. I think just need to continue in that second half.
Take a look at the stats. Passing yards, 79 for Washington and 122 for Solon. That's a good-looking number for a team that really likes to run the football, but Washington has made it tough on Solon to get that ground game going. You see the rushing yards, and then the penalties. The one really costly one was a holding penalty that negated a touchdown run by Ryan in the second quarter, and Solon was not able to score on that particular drive. Individually, Willis for Washington has 7 carries for 79 yards, a big 57-yard run. Ryan for Solon, 11 carries, 51. Hoffman has caught a couple of passes for 68, including that long touchdown reception of 55 yards. We'll see what happens in the second half. Washington 21, Solon 10. We'll be back. Back to the start of the third quarter. Students are into it, 21-10. And Solon will receive the kickoff to start the third quarter.
Good sign of tribute right there from the student section, wearing the red, white, and blue in a variety of ways.
Armed Forces Night.
important for Solon really in this possession, Rob, to get something out of it too.
And they've moved the football. Done a good job, especially with passing plays, as Ryan gets out past the 35, and he's been very good for the most part in returning kicks.
You watch him, he just sets things up. He's got his vision downfield looking for those gaps to run through.
But you see a flag back there at the 32. And that'll be the 4th penalty of the ball game on Solon. And that's one thing that Lucas Stanton wanted to put in the rearview mirror from last week. Costly penalties, looking for better execution.
They've kind of increased the production of their offense and reduced a few of the penalties, but they're still committing them at very significant times.
Timmons having a very good night through the air. This time hands it off to Colton Hoffman. First time that he has taken a handoff. Gets out to the 26, so that'll be a pickup of 5.
You see him coming across the formation. Good timing on the handoff. He had some nice blocking downfield. Wyatt Stout does a nice job of keeping him from getting to the outside. It's finished off there by Zigolowski.
This is a sure tackling, good fundamental defense that Washington has on the football field. Here's the keeper by Timmons, and he's got maybe his best run. Fumbled it out of bounds, but out to the 45-yard line, good for a first down.
Runs hard, has some really good speed when he gets through that line of scrimmage, gets to the sideline and runs away from people.
Sotelo, who had an interception last week against Bettendorf, gets Timmons out of bounds. 19-yard pickup. And now Solon will line up. Nice job by Timmons just to gather the football and gets into Demon territory before he is wrapped up by Stout. They'll make that Stewart.
I think he was supposed to hand that ball off to Carson Miller.
Low snap, probably threw the timing off.
And he does a nice job just to follow the play. Follow because pulling left guard is out in front of him. He's got Miller out there too. Picks up positive yardage.
Yeah, Jacob Miller, nice tackle. Oh, that's textbook right there.
Shoulder pad into the midsection of the ball carrier.
Ryan twists and turns his way to the 40. Another good, tough run.
They're mixing up their plays, going left and right to put players in motion from right to left to make that defense adjust on the snap of the ball, and then they just do a nice little read option handoff here. Come on, behind that big offensive line. Lucas Stanton doing a nice job. He and his staff doing a good job of mixing up their plays to pick up some bigger yardage plays and pick up first downs.
So Ryan over 60 yards from scrimmage, had 107 on just 10 carries last week against Williamsburg. And here is Hoffman again. Finds not much real estate that time.
Yeah, the real estate was short too by the sideline as the extra defender. Washington just surrounded it, didn't let Hoffman get anywhere with this play. You'll see it coming from left to right. He hesitates here, looking for something up the middle, but it wasn't there, and it closed even more quickly.
Yeah, it's like he wanted to turn that one up. And then popped it outside.
Reese Mayer making sure it stopped there.
Loss of 1. Ryan reads his blocking and gets down to the 35. Brought down from behind by Robert Bennett.
Boy, did he get an excellent block from the junior Gage Marty, pulling from left to right. all Jackson does is just cut behind him back to the left, and that's what allowed him to pick up these 5 yards. Watch this. Watch number 75, Marty. He'll come across to the right. He'll just blast right there. Jackson Ryan running right behind it. That's that extra 4 to 5 yards on a play.
Three wide to the left. Hoffman the fake, Timmons right up the middle. Well-designed play to the 27.
It took an eternity, though, for it to work, as Miller coming from left to right was way out, I think way too far out. And watch him, he's coming across, and here's the ball to snap, and all of a sudden there he comes. And it just develops into a hole right up the middle that Timmons is able to find and run for a first down.
Wyatt Stout with the tackle. But another first down, and this type of drive is exactly the way Solon wanted to start this third quarter.
8th play of the possession.
Now it's about finishing it. Out on the flat, Miller. Solon doing a good job in mixing their plays, Jerry, as you mentioned, and then getting the ball in the hands of some good playmakers.
Excellent first down play right there, because the defensive backs were 7 to 8 yards off him, and I think that's something that the coaching staff here in the press box has picked up. That's a first down play right here, and you can see how wide open Miller is. Nobody around him. Picks up nice yardage, almost to a first down.
Sotelo forced Miller out of bounds.
See it off to the left side right there. And they've got enough playmakers that they can use on various occasions.
Timmons, the keeper. It's inside the 20. See if it'll be good enough for a first down.
You know, it's amazing, Rob. We're this halfway through the third quarter. I think really the way this game is going to end is who runs out of time with less points. Because both of these teams can run, they move the football up and down the field.
Robert Bennett, another stop. Third and a yard. Ryan picks that up, and a few more. Submarining in there was Zigolowski.
He's going to have a lot of compliments coming to that offensive line. Watch him just push people to the side, up the middle, seal up the middle. Here comes Jackson off that read option handoff. I mean, that's just Solon football, and it doesn't matter who's coaching them, because that's what they like to do.
And that's exactly what Lucas Stanton wants to do, is when we're rolling, get that offensive line really in a good groove, and they've had a terrific series. Ryan, nothing. Read nicely that time, leading the way, Reese Mayer.
Sometimes that's going to happen. They're going to throw it for loss. Defense will stiffen up. At the 11th play of this possession, move from their 21 deep into Washington territory. I think the crease was up the middle, but he was so far in front of his pulling guard that he had to get to the outside.
Stewart there as well. Here's Hoffman. Can't turn the corner, brought down back at the 19-yard line.
That play was a stumbling, bumbling play all the way.
Miller is there for Washington.
Hoffman lost his helmet, is going to have to come out for a play. And it's third down, 14. Watch this off the left to the right. Washington is doing a nice job of chasing, coming up and making the play. Jacob Miller, he's made a number of those plays here tonight, coming up hard from that cornerback position.
Yes, he has. Sure tackler. Third and long. Timmons gets a block to buy some time and gets it to Ben Cusick for a short gain.
I know he wanted to go deep into the end zone. He had Miller on a flag route, but Timmons couldn't get his body, his shoulders turned to throw the ball. Defensive end was right there. Watch him, he's rolling. He'll roll to his left. Now Miller is just running that flag route. He knows he sees him, but he can't do anything because Wyatt Stout steps in there to keep him from throwing that ball. So he goes for the short route.
Short gets something out of it.
Yep.
So Tello right there. So a long field goal for Brent Lumpkin. And it will be short. So Solon stopped inside the 20-yard line, and credit that Washington defense for stepping up when they needed to.
No doubt about it. They did what they had to. They almost blocked this field goal too. The holder just kind of mishandled it a little bit. Maybe it threw off Jacob Cross on that. And
Demons begin this series on offense.
so Washington's offense comes back out on the field at 10-point lead. If Solon's defense can do the same thing. It's interesting that what we haven't touched on is the number of players who are going both ways tonight for both of these teams. And I think Solon, out of their 11 starters offensively, 7 or 8 of them are playing full-time defense too. So you eventually wear down after a while.
Especially early in the season, many coaches wondering how good a shape their teams would be in. As we've got timeout on the field. 4:26 left to go in the third. Washington football when we come back. But Jerry, you get the feeling this is a big possession either way. Washington looking for another score, but that Solon defense certainly needs a stop, down 21-10. Willis all day to send this ball downfield and incomplete. Right around midfield. And Jacob Miller open. Just overshot him a little bit.
And that showed you how much time Tayshawn Willis had in that drop back. He was back there 3 or 4 seconds, and no Solon player even got to him. You give him that kind of time, he's going to be able to pick out a receiver. Just overthrows Miller on that pass. Yeah, it's vital for Solon to stop Washington here. They can't fall any further behind than they already are.
Solon's been able to move the football. Willis on the keeper. Dances up the middle and gets out to the 24. Carson Shive from his middle linebacker position had 77 tackles last year. And a terrific campaign.
It's quarterback draw all the way. Solon played nicely.
Big third down here. Willis senses some pressure and then slings it across the middle, and it's caught at the 35. Beautiful catch by Zach Stout.
Excellent play by Tayshawn Willis. He just let Stout get open in that little hook area and enough yardage for a first down.
11-yard pickup.
Willis very patient, rolling out to his left. He could have easily taken off and run for it, Rob, but he needed 7 yards, and he probably thought he wasn't going to get there. That's when Zach Stout opened up that area.
Needed 7, got 11. Washington taking its time across the middle. This is incomplete. Intended for Jacob Miller, broken up by Hoffman.
Hoffman does a nice job to follow him across the field. stayed right with him, saw the pass coming, dives out, knocks it away. Excellent coverage. Here's Tayshawn. Again, he's got time to throw. Right across the middle, you see Hoffman just right over top of the shoulder pad of Jacob Miller.
Demons, their own 34.
Four wide. Willis fires near midfield, and was the ball bobbled or caught?
I think it bounced off the turf just in front of him.
Intended for Sotelo. Got a 34-yard reception earlier in the ball game.
Here's the true run pass option. Watch Tayshawn, he running to his right like it's going to be an option play. And then he pulls up to throw it to a crossing receiver.
Oh, that was close. So 3rd and 10. Washington able to convert a 3rd down already on this drive. Willis across the middle. That's where he's been working, and it's caught. Good enough for a 1st down. Pickup of 12. As dug up by Zach Stout at the 46, and that'll be another 1st down for the Demons.
Good timing route. Just a flag right across the middle and far enough for a 1st down. They're just nickel and diming it downfield, eating up a lot of clock, moving the chains, getting fresh sets of down.
Willis on the keeper, nothing.
It's a couple.
Good hard hit by Ben Cusick.
They got that defense back on its heels just a little bit. So they call the quarterback draw. Solon reacts nicely to it. You see them. There's a nice hole right up the middle, then it closed quickly.
So give Willis a couple. Route along the sideline that could work pretty well for the Demons. As Wyatt Stout. Pretty simple play that worked out very well.
And Tayshawn Willis does a nice job to draw defenders to him and allow Wyatt Stout to get open down that sideline. I've been watching what the linebackers for Solon have been doing, and they've been getting out covering the running backs. You'll see Willis will step up, and all of a sudden he throws it out to the left flat area because the linebacker thought he had committed to the run, and that allowed Stout to pick up some good yardage.
Washington on the move again. Going to be a few yards for Stewart. Brought down by Shive. 5 carries, number 5 tackles.
Yeah, well now they're starting to put in some fresh legs. Javon Stewart,
who's been playing mainly on defense.
In the running back spot here, takes the handoff up the middle. Speedy little bulky running back. This will be the 10th play of this possession.
Yeah, under a minute now in the 3rd quarter. Willis. And ball was loose, but not until Willis ruled down. So Washington will keep the football.
That was a nice stop. Carson Shive sticking his shoulder pad right into Tayshawn Willis. Wasn't going to let him get away at all. You'll see Shive step up right here, right there, take on the impact.
But you're right, Jerry. This has just been a methodical, very good drive so far. Stewart, nothing. Gang tackled at the 30. We're so used to big plays.
Hey, play football. Hey, staying with our mix. Staying with our mix.
Austin Quaintance, first one there.
Coming hard off that outside defensive line, Rob, to try to make a play here. Solon is defensively. But Washington just comfortably moving that ball downfield. within their offensive set.
Well, Solon had a long drive, stalled inside the 20. Washington on the move. We'll see what happens. The start of the fourth quarter coming up. Welcome back to Spartan Stadium. So cheerleaders, student body, spurring on the Spartan defense. Much needed right now. What a terrific drive this has been by Washington. Converted a couple of big third downs. Here's a misdirection handoff to Wyatt Stout. And that's going to work nicely inside the 20-yard line.
A little pitch pass forward is actually a pass. With the motion man and from left to right, Wyatt Stout steps in front of the quarterback Tayshawn Willis and takes us a little pitch forward, a little shovel pass forward. Watch is right there.
Got that defense to flow to the left.
It's a gain of 11. Again, it's a pass play because he pitches it forward.
First and 10 at the 19.
Play number 13 of this possession. They've done it comfortably, calmly, and effectively.
Willis looks deep, fires to the end zone and wide open. Nobody in the neighborhood as Spencer Sotolo.
Touchdown, Spartans.
His first touchdown tonight.
Well, Colton Hoffman had him, and then once he saw Tayshawn Willis kind of step up, look away from him, he released him. And that let him get wide open. Watch this. Tayshawn with the play action, looking downfield, and all of a sudden, Sotelo
Able to
gets
step
open.
up in that pocket, too.
Just can't leave the player you're assigned to.
There's probably a blown coverage there. Sotelo, 19-yard touchdown reception. Also had a 34-yard catch back in the first half.
The point after, Zach Stout.
Stout for the extra point. And this one is no good.
Kick is no good. So
Wide to the left.
Now, 27
His first miss tonight. 27-10 Demons.
So you see Tayshawn looking downfield, looking off of Spencer Sotelo, who just keeps drifting back into the end zone, gets beyond Colton Hoffman. You can just tell Hoffman goes to himself, I had him early. I should have. You just got to stay with him. That's really all there is to it. I know you want to try to make plays elsewhere, but when you're assigned to cover a receiver like that, you can't let him out of your sight whatsoever.
Let's go hit somebody now. Let's go.
Spencer Sotelo, 5'10 senior, made some big plays tonight. And how about that drive, Jerry? Covers 80 yards, 13 plays, and a couple memorable third down and long conversions.
Third down and 7, and picked up an 11-yard completion. Third down and 10, 12-yard completion. To Zach Stout. Fourth down and 6, they had an 11-yard completion. That was that little shovel pass to Wyatt Stout just in front of the 19-yard pass completion for the score.
James Harris, after his team beat Bettendorf 19-10. Did it with outstanding defense. Took advantage of some turnovers. Both sides of the football have been very good tonight.
They've really been able to take that momentum from last week's win over Bettendorf into this game.
Ryan. And he bowls his way beyond 30. So Solon has had some very good drives. One in the third quarter, one back in the second quarter. They've just not been able to get any points out of it. They've done everything good inside the 220s.
What happens now, they got 67 yards to go in about 7 plays. They need to score, which means it would be 10-yard plays every play. They've got the capabilities.
Timmons. Ball tipped and incomplete. Almost picked off. Closest player to it was Jacob Miller.
Especially when that ball gets tipped up like that, it becomes anybody's football. Timmons doing a nice job of getting to the outside. He had his deep out pattern open. Colton Hoffman out there. Actually, Hoffman was in the flat. You can see that the out pattern out there deep. Got to throw that ball to the sideline. There's your 12, 15-yard pass play that you need to move that ball in big chunks quickly.
That's the second time that Willis at 6'5" has tipped the ball at the line of scrimmage. Timmons with the keeper.
Washington will let them run the football all they want at this point. Unless they break a big one for a score, Washington would rather see them keep the ball on the ground as that clock continues to move.
Thomas Baez on the stop. Yes, the clock is in the favor of the Demons right now for sure.
There's just the read option play, and Washington playing a little flex defense now. They don't have to apply as much pressure deep in the backfield versus at the line of scrimmage and maybe 2 or 3 yards deep in their own defensive backfield.
3rd and 5. And the pass is incomplete. Tried to get it to Carson Miller.
It was right off his hands.
And that's been a play that's worked well, especially in the first half for Solon.
Washington has done a nice job to cover that particular play. They're getting people into that low flat area in the mid-range out pattern, but you know that ball went off Miller's hands. He certainly had a chance to catch it.
Bailey in the neighborhood. 4th down punting situation for Solon. And a good boot by Hancox. Solon will get that defense right back out on the football field after a 41-yard boot.
Well, now it's just ball control, eating up that clock for Washington. And we saw in their previous possession exactly what they can do. 2 or 3 plays, every 10-yard first down situation. Just keep moving the chains.
Jerry, you talk about the big plays, and especially in the first half. 7 plays combined, both teams, of 20 or more yards.
So they have the ability to be explosive.
I think Washington would take a drive like they just scored upon. Takes it 5, 6 yards. Convert a couple of 3rd downs if needed. Miller on the carry.
You can see the variety of athletes that Washington has been using tonight. Here's Miller on the motion and option read, just a complete handoff for him. You know, we're going to see Tayshawn Willis as well run the football on this possession.
Tripped up by Shive. Pass caught across the middle. Nice job hanging on to the football by Ethan Patterson, his first reception.
I guess a little surprised that they would throw the football there. I guess it's just to keep Solon's defense balanced. Gain of 10, just a slant pass. You see how much time, again, Tayshawn has to see. And at 6'5", you know, he can see over top of that interior offensive defensive line, find his receiver.
got to have a lot of trust. Washington's number 7.
And the rest of that offense, they've really done a nice job.
And that line is really protected. Really pass blocked very well. Hand off to Mayer. Key thing he did there was stay in bounds as Timmons makes the stop.
It's a nice stop by Jacob Timmons out there on that left side.
Really good tackle.
But they need the football back quickly. Got to try to make a play here.
Some pressure. Willis gets away, but then tackled in the open field. Nice job by Carson Shive, one of the best tacklers on the team a season ago.
Yeah, boy, he really did a nice job to keep. There was a wide open field there, and Shive does a nice job to get to the legs of Tayshawn Willis. Look at it, the rush on the defensive line. 3 of them get around him to the outside. You know, you got to try to keep him within arm's reach and in front of you, and not let him get behind you. Credit Shive with keeping that to a short gain.
Willis fires and incomplete at the 45. Intended for Patterson.
Just a simple out pattern. It was enough for a first down. Tayshawn delivers a nice ball, puts it right where the receiver needed it to be able to catch it. You know, you start wondering, you know, how good is this Washington team, Rob, in the 3A field?
Well, they made the playoffs. Made the playoffs last year, but lost All-State quarterback Luke Turner. But Willis has really stepped into that quarterback position and done a terrific job. But Solon appears they'll get the football back. And Washington will take timeout.
Had some trouble getting their punt team on the field. They had 9 to begin with, and then a young man ran out of the field, and they were still missing somebody on the interior line, so they take the timeout to get that squared away.
Well, Solon needs to make something happen offensively, down 27-10.
Good for him.
Another perfect night for football. Not a hit of wind, Jerry, just kind of like what we had last night. And the kick is away, and we'll get a favorable bounce for the Demons, but still pretty good field position for Solon to try to do something after a 29-yard boot.
Well, they do need to do something here with this, Rob. They got to get it downfield, get it across the goal line. Go for 2, put themselves down by 9, get the ball back. I mean, here's a strategy. Then they got to score again, go for 2. That would still only put them down by 1, and there's 7:34 to go. So my guess is now you got to pick up those yardage in 20 to 25-yard increments.
Come on, boys, let's go.
Timmons looks across the middle, and he is swarmed under. Zane Laws and Mayer the two to greet Blake Timmons.
It's interesting that he had Jackson Ryan out on the left side, and I know that's where he really wanted to go, and I don't know why he didn't swing it out there, because Ryan was wide open down that left sideline. You got to turn and throw that ball. Even if he's only a yard downfield, your running back will make you enough yardage.
So Timmons, and incomplete. That was Carson Miller. Had room to run, just unable to hold on to the football.
Well,
now it's a big third down.
Yeah, they got to make 18 yards. You know, you can do it in 2 plays. If you divide it in half and pick up that first down. Boy, drop passes really now become part of this downfall for Solon here in the second half.
Bailey on the coverage. Timmons sends it deep. That'll be incomplete. Colton Hoffman had a good night.
Good idea. Colton just wasn't looking at the time that ball was being thrown. Had he looked back when that ball was being thrown, I wouldn't be a bit surprised that he could have run underneath that and caught it with the way his speed is.
Hancock's back in punt formation. Just gets it away. And returnable for Miller. And he gets it into Solon territory after a 27-yard kick. Looks like a cramp in that right leg. Officials timeout.
We did a nice job to come up and field that punt on the in the air, and he saw the kind of running room he had. Fortunately for Solon, Teeple was there to bring him down before he could get too far downfield. But they still have great field position. Will be in Solon territory with a 27-10 lead and time on their side.
Join us Tuesday night for Talk Sports at 6:30. Talk about all the happenings in the world of sports this weekend. I want to hear what you think. NFL season starts on Thursday. Big 12 on Saturday. Hopefully. I guess
still a few days away.
In this world, you never know.
Yeah, things can change from hour to hour.
And that's, I think, the thing about these high school players and coaches. Jerry's talked to a lot of coaches and some players that they're just relishing every practice, every game, the 2 hours or so that they get to be together each and every day, knowing that, hey, it's not a guaranteed 9-game season, not even 9 games anymore, where you'd expect, you know, week to week to be able to play. That's just not the case right now. And you know, we're all told to live day to day and get everything you can out of each day. And boy, that's pretty real right now.
Yeah, the realism is it's about appreciating being alive, you know, the way it is, and having to deal with, you know, this pandemic that happens to be disrupting the lives of everybody around the globe. We'll get through it. Everybody has to do their part to help contain it.
Taylor on the stop of Willis. But it's the one thing about high school athletes, and especially seniors, it's don't get another shot.
No.
This is it. Stout on the carry, and you would expect Washington to try to pound things out as much as they can, not saying they won't throw the ball on occasion.
We're just going to run the clock down, and I assume Solon won't have to use any of their timeouts.
Washington has done a very good job at managing the play clock as well. Handed off to Stout, and he breaks free. Gets inside the 20, finally brought down at the 16. That'll be a first down and a big one for the Demons. 27-yard carry.
That's kind of the backbreaker of this football game. You know, I was looking back and seeing what Solon did as we take a look at just a read option handoff, some good blocking up front, some missed tackles, and Wyatt Stout out in the open field looking for somebody to tackle him. Solon had that first possession of this second half, Robin. They went 13 plays, missed that field goal, and I think that just kind of took the wind out of their sails.
Yeah, a couple of those long drives just could not get any points. And into the end zone is Willis. Boy, can he deliver a blow as well, that 6'5" frame. He's had a terrific night.
He gets a head of steam going. It's 2 or 3 people to try to bulldog him to the ground. 17-yard touchdown run.
17-yard
and
touchdown
for Tayshawn
by quarterback Tayshawn Willis. The Demons
had a hand in.
Back on 6.
First, we talked about in the first half, born without bottom portion of his left arm.
3 touchdowns of the 5 that have been scored here by Washington.
Where can he really play? So Washington can't convert, but still 33-10. Pass attempt for the 2-point conversion incomplete.
Well, at this point, certainly you want to try a variety of ways of even scoring on extra points. Either you look at it, either you can just close it down and stay vanilla because you know that your next opponent is here scouting you, but they can, you know, look at huddle anyway and scout what you're doing.
And the way Washington lines up, they can do about anything they wanted to out of that formation. Line up, see something that they want, certainly jump into a 2-point conversion mode easily. Eyes downfield, and now takes off.
Here's the touchdown run by Tayshawn Willis.
And a collision at the goal line.
You know, sometimes when you get those receivers running defensive backs off, that's as good as a block. They don't have to touch anybody because the defenders have turned to run with those players. Open up that field for Tayshawn Willis.
So Patterson will kick off. Squib kick picked up at the 25 and out to the 35. Pentico, Parker Pentico.
The up man on the kickoff return.
Well, there's been good starts by teams throughout the state. You have to put Washington's first 2 games right up there.
No question, beating a good 4A team in Bettendorf, and now going to knock off a good Solon Spartan football team that's in the 2A class for this football season.
And incomplete. Colton Hoffman. Well, Timmons put that up nicely.
Yeah, Hoffman went to the ground to try to catch that one versus just keep right on running. But I like what Solon's doing. This game has kind of gotten out of hand a little bit for them. You see Colton having a chance to get that in his hands.
Through it.
Almost the same play that they had run in the previous possession, other than Blake wasn't rolling out.
Timmons nowhere to go, and he is buried. Boy, Zane Laws, 6'4", 235.
He just blew past his offensive lineman. He certainly was watching the activity of Blake Timmons and just kind of knifed through his offensive lineman, putting him a step ahead, right on top of Blake Timmons.
Loss of 5.
That hurt a little bit.
Laws has made some big plays in the backfield. Across the middle and almost picked off. Tried to squeeze it into Colton Hoffman.
Colton saw that defender coming, so I would have done the same thing. At this point, if it's not right at you, don't put yourself out there with a chance to take a very hard hit.
Deep punt formation. Spencer Sotelo, Jacob Miller back deep.
Miller and Sotelo back. Wait the kick. Hancock's ball loose and dug up by the Spartans. Ball will be ruled down at the 41. Picked up by T-Pole. And that fumble cannot be advanced.
Well, it was a 30-yard kick, and Miller trying to field it, not really in a good coordinated position. Going to get his hands in on it to secure it, and there's T-Pole to pick it up. But he can't advance it.
So new life for Solon. Timmons nowhere to go. Sacked back at the 48. Wyatt Stout.
Well, it's interesting, 3 receivers in the pattern were 25 yards downfield. Just didn't have any time to try to pick out a receiver. That white jerseys, the defenders are right on top of him. Here comes Laws again.
A lot of white jerseys.
Getting stronger as this game gets closer to the end.
Timmons rolls out and finds Carson Miller to the 45.
Again, they're doing that to the short side of the field. You know, that's where Washington's weakness is on their defense, because they're defending the outside. So Solon doing the best they can. See if they don't roll out to the right this time.
Straight drop. And a nice catch made by Jackson Ryan. Shows that he can catch the football out of the backfield as well.
And an excellent open field tackle out there. Jacob Miller again.
There's been a lot of impressive things about this Washington defense.
Watch this.
But their tackling has been outstanding.
Yep, right there. Jackson didn't really have a chance to make any kind of a move. See, just over the top of Tayshawn Willis. Jackson with the reception and taken down almost immediately.
On the run, another grab by Carson Miller.
You gotta like the fight in Solon. They're gonna pick up a first down here on that pass completion. A lot to build on here as they go further into their schedule for the season.
Well, and that's going to be interesting too, Jerry, because it's a school right now that is going to teeter back and forth between 3A, Class 3A, and 2A. 3A last year, 2A this year, and you know, that may continue. And that's either one of the smallest 3A schools or right at the top of 2A.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was a 15-yard pass completion. Well, the Port City Union is the next opponent on their schedule. It won't be an easy game, but certainly something they can prepare for and win.
Caught and then fumbled away.
Call it incomplete.
Incomplete pass, Hoffman. And Washington, it's Bailey. Looks like a cramp again, and I think this happened quite a few times last week.
Yeah, no question. You know, these guys are exerting a lot of energy. Lots and lots of energy, you know, and then Tuesday and Wednesday this next week is supposed to get cold and rainy, and then it warms up again later in the week. So it's really hard for your body to adjust to one temperature form for a couple of days, and then all of a sudden it gets warm again to be able to withstand being dehydrated. You know, I like this Solon team. I think they're going to do well in Class 2A with
playing a lot of young players.
They are that. You know, they're showing that, you know, they've got talent, they got good skills people. Offensive, defensive lines are playing hard. I mean, so what does that say about Washington, you know, at their level and what they have ahead of them? You know, after tonight, Washington will host Fort Madison in their next Friday night game. Southeast Iowa Conference, Mount Pleasant, Fairfield, Burlington, and Keokuk also are on their schedule. But it's going to be an angry Solon Spartan football team come next week when they get ready. I don't think Solon has started the year off 0-2 since Kevin Miller's first year. If we remember that, I think we did their first game that year.
18 years, 190 and 32. Couldn't happen much. Incomplete. Good battle right at the goal line. Intended for Kisnovich. Make that Rickertson.
You see, you just need to throw to the back of the end zone. Throw it to where your receiver can run underneath it. The receiver was behind the defensive back, but it was underthrown. You see how much end zone could have been used there.
Ethan Patterson had a chance at it too. 3rd and 10. A safe pass out on the flat to Carson Miller.
The things that have been working well, you know, Miller came from motion from left to right, and the defensive back had to run with him. And as he runs with him across the formation, the defensive back gains depth, so he knows for sure that he has a chance to turn and run with Miller. If he darts downfield, he just goes into the flat area and picks up some short yardage.
Under a minute. 4th and 5. So we certainly like to score here at the end of the ball game. And they go for it all, and it is in the end zone and caught for a touchdown by Colton Hoffman.
Hoffman does a nice job to take that away from the defensive back. That was good coverage, and again, a ball that was underthrown, but Hoffman knows what he has to do to go up and get that and bring it down, out-muscle the defensive back for that pass. Timmons with good time to throw, delivers a nice quick ball.
Pretty good defense by Sotelo. But Hoffman fought for the football. Go for 2. Timmons rolls. And it's going to work to Carson Miller. 2-point conversion, good.
Well, you can see what patterns are working against this Washington defense. They're not going to give up anything deep, if you will. Solon taking advantage of the underpassing, even on the 2-point conversion.
Something positive and a bit of a hurry-up offense for Solon.
I think first time they've scored here in the second half. And I think, again, go back to that first possession they had where they drove downfield, missed the field goal. And just at that time, I think it gave Washington some momentum.
Especially after that long drive by the Demons.
And then Washington came back and scored right away. So
In the game. I'd like to thank the gang in the booth.
So Lucas
Brad and Andy
Stanton.
Cruz. Great job on the clock. Scott Seagren. Jeff Sears.
2 tough opponents to start. His tenure here. Solon, after coming over from Anamosa, head coach there for 3 years.
he's got a good football mind. He knows the program that he's inheriting. Keep it going, lasting. Just 2 tough football games to begin with. A Williamsburg team that made it to the championship game of 2A a year ago. And another game ended
That's another good team,
right? And then tonight with Washington.
No letdown after that big victory last week over Bettendorf for the Demons.
They seem to handle it very well. And again, you know, your coaching staff has got to bring it down to reality. A great win, but it's just one of 7 on the season.
And a little squib kick. It is taken by Reese Mayer.
Heads up, fair catch. Zone, 48-yard line.
So a kneel down or 2, and Washington will head south 2-0.
They really had to earn this one tonight. Solon didn't make it easy on them, and Washington did earn it. You know, we've seen the possessions that they've had on their scoring, some of their scoring drives, and they weren't easy. Ran some good plays. Ran
Good
the right
balance
plays
tonight.
at times.
Yep.
There's a large part of it right there. A guy that can
No
lead
doubt
the
about
offense.
Trayshawn Willis has been outstanding. He showed a terrific arm and knew that he could run with the football. And how about what he does on the defensive side too?
Well, he's
Quarterback
even strong
play
over there.
defense at a linebacker position.
Tough kid. Good, strong, powerful football player.
So that'll do it. Washington, the Demons, 33. Solon, 18. Washington starts 2-0, and Solon falls to 0-2. We'll be back to wrap things up at Spartan Stadium after the break on MC22. High school football on Mediacom MC22 is brought to you by McGrath Family of Dealerships, 5 Seasons Tire, the Tom Riley Law Firm, Collins Community Credit Union, Heartland Hearing Center, and by Extreme, powered by Mediacom. Final score from Solon, Washington moves to 2-0, 33-18, and Jerry, that I go back to that 80-yard drive in the third quarter really set the tone, and Willis was outstanding tonight, carried the ball 17 times for 111, a couple of rushing touchdowns, and just controlled the show at the quarterback position.
Yeah, he excelled in leadership, and he led by example with his running ability and his passing ability, finding the receivers. Got some excellent help from the guys surrounding him. Jacob Miller defensively, Wyatt Stout also on the offensive end, caught some good passes, ran for a couple scores in that first half. So this is a pretty complete Washington Demon football team.
No doubt about it. One of the best starts around the state, and Solon will certainly be back. Thanks to our entire MC22 crew and my broadcast partner, Jerry Koala. This is Rob Brooks. Thanks so much for watching, and good night from Spartan Stadium in Solon.